Met with the amazing Rick Jordan. Hey, everyone. Great to be able to see you. Thank you for joining us on our regular LinkedIn Live every single Wednesday.
Today's not Wednesday.
Today's not Wednesday?
We're doing a
Today's
special.
Tuesday. We're doing a special one.
We're doing
Rick, I'm going straight in to my just normal routine.
I like
and it's
it.
just like, you're like, dude, it's not Wednesday.
Rewind.
That's okay.
Hey,
shaking.
This is why we love the lives, and this is why everyone
Yeah.
kind of comes in and listens to us. But, whatever day it is.
Tuesday, September 14th.
What's
I'll let
shaking on
Rachel
Tuesday?
finish, Dan.
Oh,
But this is the whole piece, right? This is why we love doing lives, and this is why we talk about that human connection here all the time. Rachel and I are always sharing, because no matter what day it is, where you are in the world, you're listening to us, and we've got Rick Jordan in here. Rick, you and I have been connected for many years. You've got your podcast. You're the founder of In MSP. You're the founder of ReachOut Technologies. And I mean, you're doing so many different things. We've had so many conversations. Really, we just wanted to kind of jump on, hang out with you a bit, let our audience get to know you, and really kind of talk about what's next for you.
And about what it takes to get acquired, since that is your big focus right now in technology world and with MSPs and managed service providers. How can they get acquired? And I think there's a lot of interest in that. So, Rick, let's first have you. Hey.
How about this?
Just
What's
because we have the
shaking?
same hair, Rick, you can't
I
just
know,
hand it
right?
Josh.
I got to throw my phrase though. What's shaking? I'm Rick
Yeah, there you
Jordan.
go.
I'm here
What's
to have a
shaking?
good time
I love
today.
that.
Yep.
So, Rick, what's shaking on this Tuesday? Tell everybody a little bit about you and what you are up to right now.
Yeah, I right now I'm up to bringing ReachOut public. We're just weeks away from filing for our public offering, which is really exciting. This has been like a year and a half in the making now. And it's been a grind, and it's so cool that we're reaching a finish line, which is actually really just another starting line. Because after this, we really get to kick things into gear with acquisitions in the MSP space, in the cybersecurity industry, with the service providers. And we're closing 2 this month, which is awesome. So I was impatient. I admit I was impatient. I couldn't wait until the public offering, but there's just some amazing people that are out there that are looking for a place to have a home, whether they're looking to exit, these MSP owners, whether they're looking to exit in their sunset years, or like another one this month, just he's 39 and wants to be a dentist now. Everybody has their reasons to want to sell. I know. Yeah, he's been in tech for 13 years having his MSP, but he's like, I want to do something completely different. And it's really cool seeing these people, because I connect with them on a personal level too. Yeah, and that's so different too than private equity, which is what we see most acquisitions happen in this space. It's those that are like $5+ million in revenue, they get into 10 and 15 million to go towards the bigger MSPs, and it's private equity backed, and they're sharks. I mean, they're trying to get the lowest dollar that they can pay out for these MSPs too, because the whole reason they play this game is trying to build up like a portfolio of 10 to 12 MSPs that are doing $10+ million each. Now they can spin it off to somebody even bigger and make money on their portfolio,
Right.
or sell it off to somebody bigger. So really, they're just in it for the money game. I'm in this because I actually want to help the fragmentation in the industry. There's a whole reason behind why my personal brand color is purple, right? It means
Why?
it means luxury, it means royalty, it means premium, and it means unity. All of those things, and bringing this space together, because there's a lot of fragmentation, is just a mission that I'm on right now for those MSPs that are under 5 million in revenue, and a lot of them even under 1 million in revenue, that are just struggling. I know that road. It sucks.
Why do you talk a little bit about your background and why you specifically care about these kinds of businesses, these folks? Why MSPs?
I laugh because we were talking a little bit before we came on, right, about how I used to be 80 pounds heavier and all that. Well, it goes even deeper than that, because let's face it, right? There's a lot of individuals in this industry that are not very healthy, and I was one of them, because what do? We sit behind a desk all day, right? Or we're crawling under our exercise is crawling under a desk to plug in a cable. That's who I was. Even more so, I started out my career in the tech space in super glorious fashion as the first Geek SWAT agent in Chicago. The
Yes.
very first one. I've got
It's
photos of
amazing.
this too. I know, right?
Chicago.
Oh my
If
gosh.
anybody's from Chicago, can type in.
Yeah, please. Please. I was one of the 7 test markets after Best Buy acquired Geek Squad. And during that time, I was outselling the other 6 test markets by a factor of 3 to 1. And they're asking, it's like, how do you do this, Rick? How are you driving 3 times as much revenue as the other agents that are, installing a computer or putting in new internet at somebody's home? And I'm like, well, have you ever gone to McDonald's? Which I did work at. That was my very first W-2 job, by the way, when I was 15 years old, right?
I like
Love
it.
that.
They're like, how do you do this? How do you make 3 times the ticket price? And I'm like, if you've ever been to McDonald's and you order just like a cheeseburger, right? What's the question that you get asked? Would you like
My fries
fries with
back.
that? Yeah, right on. If you're already there, it's like the easiest sales tip in the book, right? If you're already there and they've already spent money, they've already crossed that psychological barrier of the transaction. They've already said yes to something, which means that they will say yes to more just because you're there already.
Right.
And this blew their minds. At the time, it was a $34 billion company. I'm like, how is this such an insane concept?
Yeah.
The easy upsell, right? They've already got their wallets open. They've already become a client. I mean, this is the time to be able to go in. So, I mean, you were ahead of the curve of all the other marketers that were before they actually started doing this across.
For sure, dude. This was
Even a
before
marketer,
social
really.
You
media.
weren't a
It was
marketer.
like
You were
the-
just, yeah. That's
Which is what
amazing.
makes you unique.
OG.
For sure, yeah. Just like them, my passion. I mean, I thought I was going to be building networks, and connecting all these businesses, doing new things for technology. And then it was like my very first call for Geek Squad. Not kidding. I knock on the door, right? It's, hi, I'm here to scrub your porn.
Oh my God.
That's what a lot of the job was, I mean, for day in and day out. And I'm sure a lot of the MSP owners can relate to this too, because especially when they're working with small businesses, I mean, you kind of see some stuff like, yeah, my computer's running a little slow. Really? Why is it running slow? What were you doing yesterday? Oh, you got all these pop-ups again. Cool. How'd those get there?
I don't know. I don't look at any porn.
I feel like we deal with this with our son, Jaden, too. Like now it's the kids.
Not the porn stuff.
Not the porn stuff.
I'm
But
like,
like the random, like all the stuff on the computer, like
Yeah.
his computer like broke down. Anyways.
Well, Rick, the interesting thing is like you continue, like we've known each other for a while, been connected and worked together. And, as you continue to tell stories, like one of my first jobs, I worked at Chili's, right? Being able to do that. But like when you're talking about like even on this right here, going into someone's house, like when I first started my first company, we used it's still Alexa list, but now it was like, Alexa, oh, that's what you, hopefully dang it, she's going off
Hey,
now.
she's there.
Yeah, all of a sudden now it's calling in the office here. But there's Alexa list, and I remember one of my friends even reached out like, all Josh does is look at porn all day, because when you look at the top 100 list, Alexa list is the list of every single website out there. A lot of those are porn sites, and so you would go through.
I swear this conversation.
I know who would get. Well, this is where you don't put Rick and I together.
I'm sorry. I took it way off base just talking about
So
my Geek
we're gonna
Squad
pull
days.
Pull it back out of that. The
offline
our
conversation.
live.
I'm like, we got the hair, we got the this. I'm like, oh yeah, I started.
I can pick it back up if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll start over. This is why we have Rachel here, Rick, to be able to.
I know. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah. From there, I wrote the sales playbook for Best Buy, business to business. Yeah, because they could just see that obviously I could sell. Yeah. That's cool. I don't talk about this much too, but my sales days started with Radio Shack. Back when cell phones were first transitioning from bag phones. I mean, I know I don't look this old, but I'm 41. When they were transitioning from bag phones into like the first handheld Nokias, but way back when, right? And the big thing was, back then you had to sign contracts, and they weren't even like 2 years. They're like 3 and 4 years they had to sign contracts, because the phone still cost a lot of money. But a lot of the carriers were giving them away for a penny. No kidding. So I was an assistant manager at Radio Shack, and as an 18-year-old, over Christmas, I had in a single month a $30,000 commission check just from the cell phones that I was selling. And the whole reason why is because every single person that came up to me that was checking out whether they were buying a TV or a pack of 4 AA batteries, I would ask them the same question. Hey, would you like a cell phone for a penny with that today? Again, it's the McDonald's thing, right? You want fries with
Perfect
that?
example. Yeah.
Yes. And while I got so many no's, right, out of the 300 yeses, I got, maybe 1,500 no's over the
Right.
course of that month, but I still got 300 yeses. And I
Yeah.
got paid spiffs of $100 a line that were active. So what's 300 times 100? That's 30,000. That's
Right.
Yeah.
how I made the money. Was just
Yeah.
asking everybody the same question and just understanding that there was a need there, and maybe not even a need that they knew that existed, or a solution that they knew that existed. So the people that matched their problem to the solution that I was offering that they didn't even know about, those are the ones that bought right away. That's the digital marketing piece that you're talking. Before that was, what's the first
Yeah.
step, right? A freaking irresistible offer.
100%. Yeah. No, I mean, that's exactly how you kind of get into these things, and being able to, but this is the kind of knowledge, right? Like, you are being able to connect with an audience that doesn't usually have access. They have access. They don't choose to have access because they don't have that person that's been there before. And as human beings, we look for those commonalities.
Yeah,
And I think this is really where, like, you are bridging that gap to be able to show MSPs specifically this different way of thinking, a different way of viewing, and how to be able to grow. Am I correct?
that's exactly it. Because monthly recurring revenue is king for MSPs. And this even comes into the acquisition conversation too, because there's factors that go into how much your MSP is worth. And if you want to get top dollar for your MSP, even if you aren't thinking about selling right now, you still have to look after how much monthly recurring revenue you have. Because at
Right.
some point, you're going to do something with this company. Most people think, as I did 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that I don't have any end game in sight. This was 11 years ago, right?
Right.
And but what am I going to do? And I started, it's like, I've got kids. At that time, my 14-year-olds were 10 years old, or sorry, 4 years old, and my youngest was just born. And I'm thinking, I'm going to have this forever. This is going to be my thing, right? And you just don't know what you don't know. And if you start thinking about it now, because one, even if you don't sell, if you have higher monthly recurring revenue, you're still making more money, and you have a better lifestyle for yourself and your people, and even your clients. Because the more money you're making as a company, you can actually afford to do what I did in order to scale, which was reinvest back into the organization. You can continue to take a reasonable salary as an owner, but reinvest back in to continue to have that competitive edge and scale up, because it costs money to buy these tools. But then you can have those conversations with your clients to generate that recurring revenue. Just like, would you like fries with that? Would you like a cell phone for a penny? It's like, hey, see all the cyber breaches happening? One of the biggest things that helps that, it's called multi-factor authentication, MFA or 2FA. And most people are like, I don't know. What's that, Rick? And it's like, well, you've been using it for 20 years already. I have? Yeah, for
Right.
real. When you log into your bank account, the text message that you've been getting for the last decade, that's called two-factor authentication. But we're going to put it on everything. So you relate it back to something that they know already, and it's such a simple sell. And this is a struggle I see with smaller MSPs, especially when they're running into that 500 to 700K range, which I was there, guys. That's a sucky range. Why? Because it actually makes you comfortable. As
Right.
an owner, you can pull a decent amount as a salary or decent amount of an owner's draw out of the company and cover your bills. You feel pretty good, especially after coming from broke like I did. You feel pretty good when you can actually do things like
Right.
get an Audi, which is what I did back when I was in that 500 to 700K range. I had an S7. It was a kick-ass car. It was amazing, right? I was feeling on top of the world, but then I'm thinking, it's like, yeah, I could sit here for a long time and be comfortable, but this isn't where I want to be for the rest of my life, because there is more that's out there. But those conversations that a lot of MSPs start to have in that range, they start to assume that their customer is going to say no just because of the dollar amount of what they're presenting they feel is too high. And it's because they're coming from that scarcity mindset of being broke and building an MSP from scratch and finally being like, oh, I can actually buy an Audi S7. I'm going to hold on to everything that I have because I feel like I made it. So
Right.
even though they're more comfortable financially, there's actually even more of a grip of that scarcity mindset. So when they present something like two-factor authentication, when not kidding, it's like $9 a person per month. It's
Right.
stupid cheap. And when you compare that to the cost of hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars that a breach from a cybersecurity incident when that takes place, and the reputation damage even on top of that. This is why most businesses are out of business within 6 months after a breach, is those two reasons. One, it's directly financial, and two, it's reputational. That $9 a month becomes a whole lot cheaper when you compare those options. But that's not the context that a lot of the MSPs are putting themselves into these conversations, because they're still thinking, oh, I was that broke person that finally made it to $500,000 a year in revenue so that I can actually make my bills. But that's the thing. It's like, you don't stop there, especially not in today's marketplace, because this is the state of M&A, guys. And I'm on a soapbox right now. I'm on a roll. I hope that's
I love
okay,
it.
right?
Keep on
Because
going.
those ranges, there's 142,000 MSPs that exist in the United States right now. My prediction is that within 2 to 5 years, a third are just going to be gone. I'm not talking acquired or merged into another company. I'm talking their doors closed because they're not having these conversations, and because cybersecurity, especially when you're in that 500 to 700K range, or really under $1 million,
Right.
it's a hard competency to crack. The only way you can actually scale is if you do those reinvestments, but now it's even harder than when I did it 7, 8 years ago, because cybersecurity didn't really exist back then. It was
Right.
still the same type of knowledge that you needed from 20 years prior to that. What I learned in 1998 and 1999 working for Merrill Lynch, installing servers and workstations for all their branch offices, I was still able to use in 2013 and 2014.
Which is
It's
crazy when you're talking about cybersecurity.
I know. Now it's different though. Just in the past 5 or 6 years, things have shifted and accelerated so much that it's extremely difficult to have all the competencies you need as an MSP under your roof when you're doing less than $1 million a year. You just can't afford to have the right people on staff. You know, the CISA, right? The cybersecurity conglomerate with our government now,
Right.
and the Department of Homeland Security. I just read this the other day in the journal that they finally spun up their internal talent database for cybersecurity experts. You know, this was just in the news this past week.
Yeah.
And it's like a career builder for the DHS inside the DHS. You know, kind of like a careerbuilder.com, so they can manage the talent that they need to go out and find in order to protect our country. That's pretty hardcore, right? But the average salary in there, get this, you ready? $250,000. That's the freaking salary of the vice president of the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it's difficult for MSPs that are sub $1 million in revenue to even have the competencies they need to fight in this cybersecurity landscape today. So if you're not thinking about selling, now's really the time to join up and be part of something that's larger, that you can find a home, an awesome umbrella, like somebody who understands. I'm talking about me. There's others like me, right? There's no other there's no other MSP that's going public. That's for real. You know, but be part of something to where you can accelerate your career, because I don't want to see a lot of these, and this is the philanthropic mission I'm on. I don't want to see anybody be one of those 1/3 that I know are just going to be wiped off the face of the planet in the next 2 to 5 years because they can't keep up.
So how does it work for what you're trying to build here? You said you're going public. Like, what exactly are you looking for if somebody is listening? How can they get themselves in a place to be, of interest for you? Why should they be doing it? And then if they are, yes, you want to acquire them, how does that look?
Yeah, that's an awesome questions. We talked about MRR a little bit, right? And there's some equations that go into they're longer acronyms than what we even have in the MSP space, because we know the acronyms in the MSP space, right? They're stupid. We got all these, we got NAT, we got all the SEAM, we got all these other things that only we understand, and it's really dumb. But there's other acronyms that only your accountant understands, like EBITDA, right? Or SDE, right? We've heard those as business people, but generally speaking, 8, 9 years ago, I didn't know what the hell they were.
Right.
Only my accountant did, So when I was sub $1 million, I had no freaking clue what EBITDA was. It's like, cool, I got cash in the bank to pay my bills this month. I'm doing good. That's how you manage that business, right?
Right.
Now it's, when you look at EBITDA or SDE, which is seller discretionary earnings, you take one of those numbers and then you have a multiple. So you multiply that EBITDA or SDE times this mystery figure of a multiple, and that gives you how much your MSP is worth. The easiest way to increase that multiple, because let's say your EBITDA, which we'll just dumb it down and say it's gross profit or
Right.
net profit, right? How much cash is left over After you pay all your expenses and all your people, that's EBITDA in essence. That's EBITDA, including the owner. You take that number and you have this multiple, which varies now. What I'm seeing on average is between 3 to 4x.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And to even get to 3x, you have to have a monthly recurring revenue percentage of at least 50%.
Okay.
And that's probably hard for a lot of companies.
It is when you're
Shouldn't be, right,
smaller.
though?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't
Yep.
be, but yeah.
Right on, and this is one of the things that made me successful and able to scale as fast as I did, because when I was laid off from Best Buy, when they eliminated that B2B division, when I launched my MSP, at first, of course, I need to put food on the table. My twins were just born. I need to pay my mortgage. That's the mode I was in. So I was taking, like any entrepreneur, you take any money that's coming your way.
Yeah.
I was still doing time and materials, charging hourly fees, doing some block contracts. But in 6 months, I had this plan. In 6 months, I'm like, I am done with that at 6 months. I am drawing the line. I'm going to gain clients in the first 6 months. And then I'm going to have a conversation with them and say, hey, this is what I'm moving into. And this is why it's better for you. It's a monthly recurring program, fixed fee, flat rates, one price. That's it. Are you with me?
Yeah.
And there's not a single one that said no. They all
Right.
said yes. Because they yearn for this stuff. And it boggles my mind that in this space, guys, that there's still MSPs that consider themselves MSPs that still have under 50% of recurring revenue in their mix of their overall revenue.
Is that more of a function of the business model? Or is it a function of like on-premise versus cloud and like just the tooling and being a bit behind the 8 ball on that?
It's really the business model, because whether
Yeah.
it's, I can see where your mind's going, because most cloud is subscription based.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just naturally, so just like SaaS, right? It's just
Right.
naturally a recurring revenue model.
Exactly.
But for MSPs, a lot of the real money made is in the services and the delivery of those services.
Yeah.
So with MSPs, whether you're on, and this is a sales point too, when I talk with prospects, is whether you're on premise, you've got your server that's there, physically, like in a closet somewhere or in a rack, whether it's there or in the cloud. And I know the cloud is this ambiguous thing, right? It's like, where does all the data exist? It's still a friggin' server.
It's still servers.
When you walk into a data center, yes, it could be like a whole freaking train station worth of data center racks, but in those racks are servers.
Right.
That's where your stuff lives. Yeah, it's still a server, no matter whether it's in your closet or whether it's up in the cloud. It's still a server, and it still has to be managed and serviced the same exact way, with just some differences in how people are connecting, where they connect from. Those are and some security considerations you need, because little tidbit that most cloud breaches are actually caused by misconfigurations, including the big Microsoft breach that happened last year, where they exposed like 250 million ticket records or something like that. That was a misconfiguration by their security team that left their support system exposed for 2 weeks. That's most cloud breaches, is simply misconfiguration. A human screwed up somewhere.
It's always the human error, right?
It is, yeah. But then it is the business model, Rachel, because MSPs, at least they call themselves that, are not having those conversations, or not drawing the line in the sand like I did, and saying, I cannot do business with you unless you jump on this program for me. Why? Because I especially when you're scaling, it's like, I'm only one person, and I was just that one person when I drew the line in the sand. I need to be able to have the resources available to you. And the only way I can make things predictable and reliable for you is if you're on this program right here. Are you in? Yeah, Rick, sure. That's cool. They already like you. The trust is already there. Again, they already passed that point of the transaction because they already paid you before.
Correct.
Some MSPs will ask me, Rick, how do I know that they trust you? Well, are they paying you?
Right.
Hello? They trust you if they give you money.
Yeah.
So yes, business model. Yeah, I'm going to take a breath. Ready? Okay, we can keep going if we want.
Well, I mean, I think part of what you're doing here is to really help support for this 30% or so of businesses that are going to be gone in the near time future, provide a solution. So how can a company best position themselves if that is something? I just imagine if I was a business owner and I was listening to you, I'd be like, well, why do you think I'm going to be like, why are you putting no faith in me, Rick, that I'm going to be bought out in a few years,
let's look. I mean, I remember 2008, Rick. I mean, I was in the, I've been in marketing for a long time. I own my own agency back then, and I guarantee you, uh, more than 2/3 of those agencies went out after 2008 because that was the first thing that people cut was marketing. You saw
Yeah.
all these different. So, like what you're saying about MSPs being able to go, 100% agree because I've seen it happen time and time again. These things come in cycles. It continues to go. You have a certain number of years, and then you have that cycle that people go through. And if they're not ready for it, they're going to be gone, just like you said. And the only way that the right people, like even myself, was to be able to be in the right programs, to be able to learn from the right mentors, to be able to be in the right associations, because grouping together as a whole allows you to be able to get through these times, these hard times that everyone goes through. And that's kind of what you built All In MSP for, correct?
That's exactly it. Yeah, my man. Because yes, I'm acquiring right now, but I want to help as many MSPs as I possibly can. Because if I'm doing 50 to 70 over the next 2 years, as far as acquisitions go,
Right.
that still leaves like 141,000 MSPs, or 141,930 MSPs. It's a
Still a
lot
lot
that
of
are
them out there. Yeah.
exactly. And I know the struggle. I know when you're that broke and you have to take an extension cord like I did and run it out to the hall in your apartment building because you can't pay your own electricity and you have to keep the breast milk cold when your twins are just born. I know those struggles. And it's tough, and it's tough for years. And it's
Right.
even tougher when you go through a recession like we just have, to your points. And with Reach Out, we were able to double our revenue last year. I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for that. But that's also because some of the others who didn't have the ability to serve in that way, they didn't have the resources. And then they were the smaller MSPs at the time. They,
Right.
a lot of them kind of went away, or they just kind of survived. They cut people, and it's going to be a struggle to try to get them to come back too. Yeah, so it's not, Rachel, it's not that I don't have faith, because I think all of them, if they put their mind into it, and it really is a mindset thing. Everything I've talked about for sales today is all mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
Every bit of it is. It's
Oh, yeah.
taking a look at it from a different perspective, having the right conversations, having the courage to even have those conversations to begin with, rather than getting in your own head and already telling yourself why your customer's not going to buy from you. Well, they're never going to buy from you if you don't freaking ask them. That's it's kind of,
Yeah.
that's the conundrum, right? It's like these MSPs, I've been in their shoes, and I am one of them still, because I faced the same struggles last year. It's just through experience in the previous struggles that I was able to adapt as I needed to last year and double the revenue of Reach Out, come up with a completely new business model and a new revenue stream that was able to double that. And it was all, again, focused on monthly recurring revenue. So when we were talking about that multiple number, right?
Right.
If your business is worth, let's just say, a round number of $100,000, which is probably typical for a $500,000 MSP, okay? And that means that they have $100,000 left over. And there's probably some watching this that are like, no, I don't have that much. That's okay, because that's the difference, right? Because between EBITDA and SDE, this is just a little accounting education. The only difference between those is called add backs. That's it.
Hmm.
Because if the owner's not going to be there anymore, that company's actually worth more than what its gross profit is. Like one of
Right.
the acquisitions I'm looking at right now, their EBITDA was $20,000 a year as a 500K MSP. But with the owner taking out $80,000 for himself that year, that adds back to 100K, which is called seller discretionary earnings, SDE. So you
Mhm.
get to that. It's a very simple computation, obviously, but then the multiple, that 3x, that 4x, I've seen sometimes 6x SDE, 7x SDE with MSPs. What drives that multiple up is your percentage of MRR. How much monthly recurring revenue you
Hmm.
have. That is the only thing that affects that multiple, because the buyer, who is me in those shoes right now, knows that those customers are going to be sticking around. It's
Right.
not just project-based work that was a one and done. I know that every single month, on the first of the month, that there's contract revenue that's coming in, pure contract revenue, not cloud services or Microsoft Office 365, where it's $4 a mailbox and your cost is $3.64 a mailbox. You're making a whopping 26 cents on that thing, or whatever it is, right? That's truth, right? You take that out. I'm talking true MSP monthly recurring revenue. the higher that percentage is, because I've seen some as high as 93%, they
Wow.
got like a 10x. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Wow.
So that same company that had $100,000 of SDE, depending on where their monthly recurring revenue is, could be worth anywhere from, let's say, 200K to $1 million. And it all goes back to how much recurring revenue you have.
You laid it out so well, Rick. I mean, I think this is the big thing why we wanted to have you, on here to be able to share, because what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the knowledge that you have, not just from running an MSP, but truly being able to share. You just shared information that I have to believe. I don't just care about MSPs. I'm talking about business owners in
Yeah.
general are not privy to and do not pay attention to. So this is why it's so important what you're doing, because you are truly being able to bring knowledge base that will allow people to be able to grow and be able to build that business, to have the opportunity to not only learn from you, because right now what you're doing, because I mean, I know you've got LinkedIn Lives coming up, every
Yeah.
Monday, the second and fourth every Monday. And then I know we got community calls coming up. You're speaking at an event in October. I mean, you're everywhere sharing this knowledge, but they need to be able to take this knowledge so they can actually be able to have the opportunity to not only to be not educated by you, but be bought by you.
You got it. Yeah. The option right now, man, you said it so eloquently too. The option right now really is scale or sell.
Right?
That's it. It's more like an ultimatum at this
Can't
point
just
for
sit around
MSPs.
anymore.
You got it, because you will be one of those third. So yeah, I've got the faith, Rachel, and those who are going to choose actually make the choice, because those who decline to choose are the ones that unfortunately will just fall to the wayside. If they do choose, cool, scale, I'll teach you. I'll freaking teach you how to scale. Sell, awesome. Let's have the conversation. And you know what? Even if it's not a fit right now, I'm going to teach you those things that'll actually help you get to the point to where you can be attractive as an MSP for a sale. But even if you decide, hey, dude, you taught me all this stuff and I'm making more money, I'm happy. I'm like, awesome. So you just decided to scale. You still made the choice. That's a good position to be in.
I love that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so people can see you when your first LinkedIn Live.
Yep. September 27th this month. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Rick is going to be all over LinkedIn Live. He's going to be broadcasting his podcast. He has incredible guests. He's going to be spitting all sorts of knowledge on
27. Yep.
Yeah. So pretty much what we're saying is to catch up with you, and really, if you're interested in learning more, to reach out. You have a lot of ways to educate.
We're on LinkedIn. Rick's on LinkedIn. Send him a message. Tell him what you learned.
Yeah.
Have to be a part of it, because this is something that you're really nurturing to really explode. And this is the time for people to get involved with you now before, I mean, let's just be honest, like, in a year from now, you're going to be pretty overloaded to be able to be working with everyone that you're taking on right now. So
for sure. Yeah. I mean, send me a DM on LinkedIn, send me a message that's on LinkedIn here. Did we even call them DMs on LinkedIn? I don't know.
We do. Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know.
It's a direct message. So.
Yeah, it is. I know. Like, I just described the function. Is it actually called that?
We're good.
Yeah.
I think they know that. Yeah. But Rick, thank you so much, man, for spending time with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Excited about everything.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Rick. Everybody,
Thank you.
See you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.